It is the Jim and Terry Show coming to you for another solo podcast while my good friend Jim is relaxing, fun in the sun. I don't know what he's doing, but the Jim and Terry Show carries on until he gets back in the hot seat with his breakfast next week. In the meantime, what am I going to talk about? How about a book? How about my book? Finding the Grace of Uncertainty, subtitled In Turbulent Times. How about that as a title? Well, I've done a YouTube blog on that. You can check it out on my Terry Wigmore YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description outlining where I think I'm going with the book. It's nearly done. Nearly done how far? Well, to the point where I'm looking at typographers. I'm looking at designers to take my raw text, which I've used, written the book using OpenOffice, and output the file, as a PDF kind of thing. But they can take it and format it, organize the chapters, the headings, the headers, make sure it all works for a consistent presentation of text, which is what I've sort of tried to do along the way as I've developed this, but with a professional touch, and I'm willing to pay for it because this is my legacy. This is something I've worked on for years, almost since Trump's descent on the escalator has this project sort of been in my mind. Ever since, specifically, the T-shirt, Trump is my president, Jesus is my savior, or is it the other way around? Jesus is my savior, Trump is my president. That T-shirt got me, and that's what was the inciting incident for writing a book. But along the way, I've learned a lot of things in the research end of things. And what I've learned, I'm just going to outline some of that because it's relevant to what Trump is doing. His vengeance tour now is sort of along the lines of what I'm investigating in the book, which is deciding an outcome, as in Trump deciding that Jack Smith, that James Comey, that the New York AG, Letitia James, that all these people he's going after are guilty. And then you find the evidence after the fact, after you've determined the outcome of what you want. You sick the wheels of justice, the DOJ, the FBI, CIA, whoever you want to call upon, you pull in all your cards. Trump thinks he has all the cards and he's pulling them in. Having predetermined, and I'm going to use a philosophical term, presuppositionalism. When you determine something based on a premise, you say, this is what I'm going to look for. And when you find it, you cherry pick the data to support your presupposition. And that's what Trump is doing in the legal system in the United States at the present time. Jack Smith's not afraid. Let the cards fall where they may, because he is resting upon a career of crime fighting on an international level against Trump, who is going to be written, and as someone who studies history, I will say it out loud and make my prediction, the worst president ever. Will he be indicted? Well, that's up to the American people to do that. Will he be convicted? That's that lieutenant colonel or colonel, I think, who on the stairs of the Congress in uniform held up a sign, said, what did they want him to do? Indict, convict, and remove Trump. When the military goes against you, and I'm hoping there are many others who will do what that brave soldier in uniform called out, I serve the Constitution of the people. I do not serve the whim of a corrupt rogue president. Well, I hope more of that goes in. Anyway, that's, the outcome cannot be determined. You have to go to trial with your evidence and let the chips fall where they may. You've either succeeded to get a conviction or you haven't. And that is due process. Well, Trump has bypassed and thrown out due process. It's no longer referred to as part of the whitehouse.gov website. They've removed the due process clause. They've removed a lot of stuff that refers to black history. A lot of stuff that refers to the oppression of slaves, removed from the government's White House website. It's crazy stuff. And unless you are a Timothy Snyder or someone of that ilk, Heather Cox Richardson, some of the ones who have Katie Fang is another one. So unless you're willing to do the battle with these kinds of people who are calling it all out, but we need the people to agree with them and stop saying, what do we call it, mansplaining? Stop explaining away Trump's craziness. It is crazy. It's batshit crazy. And I like that that song. Yeah. That's from the punk band. And I think we need to look at it and not normalize it. And so every time a questioner doesn't get the right answer from Trump, or gets one of his stupid filibuster things where he says, I'm right and you're wrong. I know more than my generals. I do this and I do that. Unless you challenge him. And there have been a number of journalists who have challenged him, and he drops the mic and gets up and runs away because he has no answer. And that's what needs to happen each and every time. Confront him. Don't let him get away with saying crazy stuff and expect everybody else to recognize that it is crazy. If you're on TV, you tell the viewer that this is crazy. Don't let people sit at home and say, they make it sound like he's normal. No, he's not normal. This is all not normal. This is all crazy land, crazy talk, and he's surrounded himself with enablers. Sycophants is the word, and all of them need to go at some point. Where was I going with all this? Presuppositionalism. You either let the evidence direct you and you formulate a hypothesis based on the evidence. You sum it all up in a statement that represents the evidence you found, or you go hunting and cherry picking for stuff to support your particular belief. And that's the nature of my book, Finding the Grace of Uncertainty. Because the more I study, the more I learn, the more I dig, the more I am convinced that the history of humanity is a wonderfully complex, nuanced, developed over eons of time story. And it doesn't involve the divine hand nearly as much, if at all, as people to this point in time, mainly the evangelical community, but churches in general, religious beliefs in general, spirituality in general, claim. And I use the word claim because there is a difference between evidence of something and a claim of evidence. Claim is when you assert something without evidence, and data is where you allow the evidence to speak for itself and you try to understand what it is saying. What has all this got to do with my book? Well, handing it off now I still got an edit or two to do, make sure everything's completely shored up, because everything past this point I have to pay for out of pocket. And as Jim will tell you, retired guys with fixed income, you got to count your pennies and be sure that it's well worth whatever you're going to spend on design and printing to make these copies available. But it's a book I want to pass on. Finding the Grace of Uncertainty. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be right. You don't have to scream and get intense. You can have calm discussions. That's where I love Joyce Vance, former federal prosecutor. And her line is, I think it's her tagline for her Substack, is civil discourse. That's where we get along. We don't agree, but we get along. We don't have the same views on what is right, but we get along. We're able to discuss it. If it's a matter of money for priorities, like I need this railway built, okay, well, that means that school doesn't get built. We have a discussion and we say, well, can we build X kilometers of track and then build a small school with portables? Can we agree to put a water tower in this town? Can we agree to help somebody? That kind of thing. Let's negotiate the way forward. But helping people is what government is all about. It's not a business. Please don't think government is a business. It's not a balance the budget enterprise. It is a use public resources to the best use of the public's interest as possible. If you're making a profit from being in government, hint, Trump I think some investigative reporters, and I'm not sure if it's New York Times, released a $1.something trillion grift from Trump and family over the course of Trump's time in office. That is absolute corruption. That is not at all what's supposed to happen. So we need to call this stuff out. Question it. Question it. Do not let it be known as mainstreaming, as nullifying, as in making something to be, oh, well, that's just the way Trump is. Oh, that's just his jokes. That's just his humor. No, it's not. It's crazy land, and stop normalizing it. The guy is nuts. He's crazy. Needs to be indicted. He needs to be removed, and the sooner the better. And there are all kinds of mechanisms. The U.S. Constitution provides it. Who's going to do it? Who's going to take it upon themselves to do it? Well, we know SCOTUS isn't, because they've already justified it. Oh my goodness, I haven't even talked about my book. Next podcast. Bye-bye for now.
It's complicated, this relationship I have with my morning coffee. It's from the way that I